Coming up on today's episode, we wash away the stink of imaginary and we break down a good movie, Night Shift.
It's for you.
Stay tuned. Welcome to Scary World, where we walk you through the latest and greatest in the world of horror. I am your host, Arturo Padilla.
Hi.
Remember, folks, this is a spoiler-free show.
I'm not going to spoil the surprise.
Now that we got that out of the way,
We got some rules around here.
there are 5 categories: production, story, ensemble, horror, and legacy. Each category can earn up to 2 points.
Showtime.
Per IMDb, the synopsis goes, while working her first night shift
Come with us tonight as we paint the town red on the night shift.
at a remote motel,
That must be the Bates Motel.
a woman begins to suspect
He suspected someone on the inside.
that the property is haunted.
I think my family's being haunted by a ghost.
Production.
Just stay awake and watch me.
This movie was directed by Benjamin and Paul China, aka the China Brothers. This is their first feature film, like, ever. You go to IMDb, there's no other credits there but this movie. And wow, that's very impressive because this movie looks good. It's executed well. The technical aspects of this movie, the camera work, the lighting, all that looks very good and looks very spot on.
We got 20 cabins, all are basically identical. If you take to the job, then maybe we can make it a regular thing.
It'd be great.
You know, you couldn't tell these were first-time directors because everything looked polished, everything was composed well, the movie sounded good. As an overall package, the movie was edited well. This is, again, impressive because I did not think these guys were first-time filmmakers because of how good everything looked. I am very impressed by their work and by their visual style and their eye, and they seem to have a keen sense of horror and what looks good on screen. And for that, for these first-time directors and how good of a job they did, this movie gets a solid 1 for production. Story.
I want a story.
A story about what?
This script and the story was also written by the China Brothers, and man, what a really good story. It's paced well, it's structured well, all the acts flow very nicely, and they hit all the right beats. The story is a bit of a slow burn. It starts off nice and slow, but then it ramps up. As I mentioned in my written review for Instagram, it starts off on its tippy toes, but it flies through the finish line running. This is exactly what happens in this movie. It starts off very slow, very talky, very back and forth, very ambient, very atmospheric, and then it starts slowly introducing the characters, slowly ramping up, and we get an awesome third act that I think you guys are gonna enjoy. And in comparison to what we've been dealing with this past year, this is a big thumbs up because I am very happy that this story turned out the way it did. And for story and for the awesomeness of Act 3 and how everything flows nicely, this movie gets a big old 2 for story. Ensemble. This movie didn't have a lot of characters, but the characters that the movie decided to focus on were good. The supporting cast was good. The actors playing those characters were good. There's about maybe 6 to 8 characters in this movie. 2 of them were really nonsensical in my opinion. That's a big gripe of mine. There were these 2 characters, this couple.
Okay. Oh my God. How does this dump even stay open? People probably died here, right?
That decided to just get a room at the motel, and they were just very unpleasant, very poorly written, poorly acted as well. I'm not sure if the direction was to go super over the top with it. These characters were just very off-putting, and it seemed very different from everything we were getting in this movie. Aside from that, Phoebe Tonkin, our protagonist, plays Gwen, and she does a really good job with her role. She's able to showcase her talent, her range. She takes us through this emotional roller coaster, through this slow burn of a movie, believe it or not. There is an emotional roller coaster that goes through here, and she does a good job with that. She leads us from the first act to the third act, and she does a great job anchoring this movie emotionally. Without her, this movie would not have been as successful. I think they picked a great actress to portray this character, and she knocks it out of the ballpark. Unfortunately, like I mentioned, there are a couple of characters here that were very off-putting and kind of brought down the score solely because of what were they doing here and what was their purpose really, because it didn't seem to really equate to anything in the long run after they were on screen and after they left the screen. So that was a little odd, but Again, Phoebe Tonkin did a great job as Gwen, and for that, this movie gets a nice solid 1 for ensemble. Horror.
Is it scary?
The blood and gore in this movie was a pleasant surprise. It popped up in the latter part of the movie and it had me in. It legit happens during a point in the movie where you least expect it. It helps the movie flow through the last 30 minutes as well. They did a good job with the blood and the gore. It's all practical. It's impactful as well when it does happen. They also did a very good job with the makeup. There's some dead people makeup here, and it's all practical. It looks great. It's very, it's shocking. They did a good job. It was kind of scary. It's kind of spooky. There are some good jump scares here, some spooks here and there. And like I mentioned, the makeup helps with those spooks. You really don't expect them to look that horrific, and they really do. They did a great job with the special effects here and all the practical makeup they used in this movie. This movie, you will see, goes from 0 to 60 in terms of violence. There's nothing at one point. It's just a lot of ambient suspense, a lot of building up of spooks, jump scares and stuff like that. But then when it finally ramps up and you get some of that good red stuff, man, very impressive, very well done. It's not a lot, but it's still a lot within that frame of time. And it was very well done. And for that, this movie gets a big 2 for horror. Legacy.
Penny for your thoughts?
This was a good movie. As mentioned before, they do a great job with the blood and the gore and the practical effects. It really elevates this movie, really elevates the scenes that they're used in, and I can't wait for you guys to actually see those scenes. This movie also, it was a fun surprise, honestly. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I was looking for some new content, and I stumbled upon this movie. And I'm so very glad I did, specifically for the China brothers. I'm very excited to see what they do next. They handled this very well. They handled this like pros. You couldn't even tell this was their first feature debut. The execution was on point. It was solid. It was a very watchable movie. The acts flowed very well. The characters were good. The dialogue was good. Everything looked good. I am very excited to see what the China brothers have planned next, because if this is the talent that they showcase right off the bat, I can't wait to see what they do with a bigger budget. A bigger budget and maybe an intellectual property or something so they can flex their muscles a little bit and see what they can do. This movie got better as it progressed, and that's really all you can ask for from a film, especially from a horror movie, right? And for that, the China brothers get a big solid 1 for Legacy, because honestly, this is the reason for this category, Legacy. For things like this, for new actors, for new creative minds, new writers, new directors in the genre. And I think the China brothers are very talented, and I think they're going to have a good career if they continue doing what they're doing. And for that, this movie gets a nice 1, solid 1 too for Legacy. As mentioned, cannot wait to see what the China brothers do next. So to tally it up, Night Shift received a 1 for production, 2 for story, 1 for ensemble, 2 for horror, and a 1 for Legacy, bringing the score up to 7. I enjoyed this movie. I really did. I really liked this movie. I loved how it started slow, and then it slowly kind of got you questioning as to what were you seeing? Was this going to be good? Was this going to be bad? What am I watching really? You thought you were going to get into some tropes, and it takes you along those lines, but then it completely turns you around and swerves you, especially after watching Imaginary this past weekend, and before that, Benny Loves You last week. It was it's been rough. It's been rough in terms of horror, and I am very glad that we have a new horror movie here that actually is good. It's good. It's solid. You can talk about this thing. It has a good ending. It has a great act 3. Furthermore, it's watchable, right? That's what we're here for, to watch the movies. This movie is very watchable. Highly recommend checking out this movie. I was able to rent it on Amazon Prime. It's nowhere to stream yet, unfortunately, but go out there. I believe it's worth a rental fee, and I think you guys will enjoy it as I enjoyed it. Go check out Night Shift.
Can you tell me what time it is?
And that's a wrap, folks. Thank you for watching Scary World. Don't forget to drop a comment down below and hit the thumbs up on the video. Most importantly, do not forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Tell all your friends, your family, your pets to come to the YouTube channel. Subscribe, like, and share all the content that's on there. You can find the official CorpseFeed podcast, The Morgue, on the YouTube channel as well. It drops every Tuesday. You can catch us spoiling Imaginary for you guys. I go in full spoiler mode on the podcast. I don't spoil anything here on Scary World for you guys. That's what The Morgue is for. Go check that out as we trash, Blumhouse and Imaginary on the current episode 183. That should be up on YouTube for you guys and anywhere you get your streams, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, all that good stuff. Do not forget to check out our social feeds, folks. We are everywhere. We are on Instagram, we are on Twitch, we are on X, we are on Threads, on TikTok, on Facebook. Anywhere there is a social stream, we are there. We will see you on Friday for a new episode, and remember, it's a scary world out there, but we are here to walk you through it.
I just wanted to say goodbye.